just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
I'd like to start today's program with a very important song, a song that comes from my background and means a lot to me. Friday, better get down on Friday. Party and party and yeah, party and party and yeah,
fun comes out of your mouth.
Fun. Looking forward to the weekend.
I am if it makes you stop singing.
That's our worst intro ever.
Friday.
Plus, I was trying to make eye contact with you guys too. Like, yeah,
you were really aggressive.
I still have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
You kind of molested us with your song a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Rebecca Black.
No,
I had kids at the age of her. That was an important song. Actually, it was the most like made fun of song I think.
Yeah.
Maybe ever.
Yeah. So High School Musical was the reason.
Yeah. Was that why?
I think so.
I don't even know. Was she connected to it?
No, but that song is in High School Musical.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
No. I thought that she recorded that and wrote and recorded that. That's a cover? That's even worse.
I have no idea.
We don't know what we're talking about.
I'm quite sure that song is in High School Musical, but maybe it's a different Friday
I hope.
song.
From what I understand, it seemed like a person who like their parents invested in them to make a song and that was the good.
I have a question.
I don't know. We're going to have to look into it now.
When was the last time you slept?
Slept for like a chunk of good time. Did I look like a crazy person just then? Whenever I shaved last is when I slept last. So yeah, skitscats don't make themselves, so you gotta fucking. I did this to myself, but I definitely am doing it to myself.
Well,
so
your beard hasn't grown into your eyebrows yet, so
I know.
You're probably still okay.
I've trimmed these cunts too. These eyebrows
you are down to a 3-head though.
To a who?
A 3-head. You don't have 4-head anymore because your eyebrows cover up this whole part.
3-head.
I do have a mammoth set of eyebrows, and really they're not.
They
a
are
set.
impressive.
They're trying to build a tunnel.
In again.
They're trying to build a bridge between each other so that they can unite their distant clans.
The Burt.
Yeah,
dude. A few months ago, I was getting my hair trimmed, and this barber lady, a hairdresser, that's the one?
I guess so.
She was dressing the fuck out of my hair, and
hair sorceress,
and with no warning or asking of consent, she backcombed one of my eyebrows and just fucking and I flinched away like fucking hard. I was like, what are you doing?
She's like, these gotta go.
And she looked at me deadpan and goes, it's time.
I
was like, what are you talking about?
I was similar.
She goes, well, do you want me to do the other one? I'm like, now,
obviously now.
Be off balance.
I trust you, 0%, but this needs to be done.
Like
I would imagine Zach probably has to comb his out of his eyelashes when he wakes up in the morning, like that tired goo. That
I just trimmed these and they're giving me
sleep.
Shit.
I'm sure it connects that brow to the
What is the name of that stuff? I've only ever called it sleep. I got sleep in my eyes.
Eye boogers?
Eye boogers.
Or that.
That's
What's the actual?
Term.
What is
That's
it?
Technical. That's
what is it?
Monique would know. Mrs. Scriptkeeper knows the name.
It's probably like sebum something blog.
It is. Right.
Blank.
Yeah. It's named after some guy named Sebum.
Yeah, Dr. Sebum.
Dr. Sebum. What should we call this, Dr. Sebum? Me. I'll call it me. The boogers in the eyes? Yes. I will be the boogers.
I will be the eye booger man forever.
There's worse things. There's probably a Dr. Taint that's like, call it me. The taint? This part between the butthole, you want to be called? Call it me. The taint. Dr. Taint.
Like, who decided where we stop? We stop?
That's it. Taint this, but it taint that.
Yeah, it could be that too. It makes more sense.
Who decided where we stop with like the naming of body parts, right? Like, because you could zero that shit down for. Until you get to molecules, right? Like,
shit.
Like it's like, okay,
the tip of the nose
this part is the
nugle.
earlobe, but what's the tip of the earlobe? The lobe?
The lobuli. The nugle and the lobuli. You have a beautiful nugle.
Like, at what point does it become asinine?
I think we've gotten there already.
Yeah, I think we passed it.
But some of the animals in the world that are named things, it's like, this is the poop doll and the titmouse and the cockbird. It's like, wow.
The Paleoglaucus.
Sounds like SKATCAST was out there naming shit for a lot of the times. Anyway.
Well, they should have consulted with us, I think.
The Dookie Bird. Fuck yeah, Dookie Bird. That's exactly what you're here on the earth to do, is Dookie on my day.
On my car, mostly.
Exactly. Well, we got a whole bunch of things to talk about.
What the fuck episode is it? Or is it 16?
It's 16.
16-ish?
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16.
I feel like it's very sweet. Last week's was the standard deviation, and then it was the
Still
fortnight.
don't get that. That one's over my head.
I don't even know if a standard deviation is 15. I think it is, but it might just be whatever the
Well, I
standard
hope for your sake it is.
deviations divided by I don't know what it is. They'll tell me I'm stupid. I think I don't need to know that I'm stupid. I know that I'm stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that
I've come to terms with it.
that I'm stupid.
But we
Yeah.
can't-
Okay.
but no, well, we really can't dispute you either. So
It's just a ride, and
Doesn't say much about us.
I'm a dumbass. Well, we're all dummies, and that's a lovely thing, and we're in it together. But we're going to start our show off like we do traditionally now for the last several episodes. We're going to talk about a police story. Or can we pry a story out of you?
What you gonna do? What you gonna do
when Jeff comes for you?
Bad boys, bad boys.
What are you going to do? Do you got one for us?
yeah. I got one.
Or do we need to pry something?
Have you run out?
Do you want to pry one? I'll let you pry one.
We
too.
could pry one. What do you want to do? Let's
get
team
over
up
here.
on it. I got the crowbar. Did you have a story that you might tell without me having to pry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do that one.
Yeah, okay.
We'll save the crowbar for later.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. This one was about a hate crime.
Uh-oh.
And hate, and anytime a call comes out as a hate crime, you automatically, the seriousness of it goes up just because the nature of the call,
Right.
because it's generally something done to somebody because of their sexual orientation, their race, or their religious preference. So, but I don't have a lot of information on what happened. So it's about just before midnight. Roll up to the address and I talk to the guy, and it was an African American gentleman, and he flags me over. I'm like, well, what happened? He had explained. He said, well, so I've been a victim of a hate crime. But how? What happened? He's like, there's a Albertsons bag full of watermelon rinds sitting on my porch in front of my door. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay. And what else? And he's like, no, that's it. And I'm confused. I'm like, I don't understand what happened.
Right.
He's like, I came home from work and this bag was sitting on my porch. And he's like, I think it's my neighbor. Why do you think it's your neighbor? You guys having problems? He's like, no, but he drives a 4-wheel drive truck and he's got a Confederate flag on the back of his truck. So I think it's him. I think he's racing. I think he's sabotaging me.
Because the watermelon?
Well, and I'm like, I don't
Goodness
understand. What
gracious.
is the deal? And he says, well, it goes, it made me laugh. He's like, well, it goes back in the history books. He's like, black people, fried chicken, watermelon. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, shit. And it finally clicked.
Right.
I'm like, oh.
Is that in a
oh.
history book? I thought that was
I'm
just
like,
a weird
I
stereotype.
did not
like
learn
a
that in
trope.
school.
Came from like a cartoon or something.
Right? I don't think it's in
I didn't
history.
learn that in school. But I had finally understood
Well,
what
back
he
in
was
the day,
talking
there was only 2 kinds of foods.
So then I'm like, wait a minute, but it's bagged, and like we're a block away from Albertsons, and it's in Albertsons bag. And I'm like, was anybody else home? He's like, yeah, my teenage daughter's home, and my mom is staying in town, and she's upstairs. Like, have you talked to them yet? He's like, no, I didn't want to scare them. I'm like, okay, did you go grocery shopping before your mom came? He's like, yeah. I said, did you get watermelon? Well, yeah. Did they maybe eat it? He's like, no, probably not. I'm like, I'm guessing they probably ate the watermelon, but it's late at night and you have to come downstairs to go to the dumpster, so they probably left it in the bag thinking you would see it and take it to the garbage. Boom. He's like, no, there's no way. So I'm like, well, let's go talk to him. And it's exactly what happened.
Damn.
So things are not always what they appear. Understand your blind spots, understand some of your own prejudices in your own head, and think about things twice before you react.
Yeah.
And if you eat
That's the lesson
watermelon,
learned in
take
that.
it all the way to the trash.
Right. Absolutely. Don't just leave your bags. It will confuse folks.
Nobody likes a bag of watermelon rinds on their porch.
No. Whoops.
Yeah,
It's 'cause
That's
that guy-
wild. So what was his response when you finally got to the bottom of it?
He really didn't have a whole lot to say.
Yeah.
Just kind of grabbed the bag and kind of wandered on down.
Sir.
Sorry.
That is pretty humbling, I imagine. But
Right.
but maybe that guy was a dick. The guy with the
He very
the
well
truck
may.
and the,
He
and the
very
flag.
well may be.
I haven't met
I
very
doubt it.
many people that have like the Confederate flag in their vehicle that I wanted to hang out with. You know
True.
what I mean? Like they're just generally like if you're
Even,
that,
like, way back
if you're
in the
that
80s and
wound
shit,
up about
yeah.
a piece of history that has nothing to do with you and that becomes your identity, you're probably kind of a stink. Like, I fucking just don't want to spend too much time around you.
Fully. There's somebody right now that's just listening to this podcast. They're looking at their wall like, fuck,
sorry, not
I've got
sorry.
that thing on my wall. I'm not taking my thing down, Shaiden.
Grow a personality.
Well, we'll put your foot down.
Yep,
All
that's what I think.
I know.
I'm probably wrong.
I think it was George Carlin that said that symbols are for the symbol-minded, right? So
the symbol mind.
Whoa, you see what he did there? You see what he did there? All right. Well, thank you for another nice police story. That's weird. That's fun. Crazy world.
I just
can't talk
found that
right.
one entertaining. It was mostly what he said about the history books because I'm like, I don't remember that from school.
I don't either.
They didn't teach me that chapter.
I feel like that was a Disney movie or something, wasn't that? Some silly thing? Like,
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
All right.
I'm familiar with the stereotype. I don't know why it exists.
Same. I feel like maybe my brain's like, yes, you do. That black and white cartoon from back in the day that was over the top. I don't know. Maybe someone can tell us where the origins of that came from.
Yeah.
Next thing. You ready for vigilante justice? You guys started having this conversation.
Do some right now? Is
Yes.
that what you're asking?
That's what I'm hoping. I want you to put your Batman suit on.
I've been training for this day my whole fucking life.
Who would you vigilante justice? You guys lead. This is your guys' thing.
I feel like we're going to start seeing more of that just because of what's going on with the lack of officers on the road.
Like less police presence?
Yeah, less police, less training. The whole. I can run the whole gamut of what's going on, but everybody already knows. It's definitely creating a problem, and I think that's going to put people in a situation where they are going to start seeking justice on their own, for sure.
What do you think about that?
What do you expect? Honestly, what do you expect? And I'm not necessarily against that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want people to be reasonable in what that's the problem is. Look at some of these news posts that you see in our local news. That somebody will do something. Yeah, people are on there. Bury a hole. Bury him in a hole. Throw him in a river. It's like, motherfucker, you have no idea what happened. There's a claim and that's what the call is titled. You don't know that he's guilty of anything, and you're wanting to kill this guy without having any idea what happened.
Well, that's on the internet.
Right.
What would that guy say if he was in person?
He'd probably run the other way in reality.
Yeah.
So vigilante justice, I think it's going to happen. It would be great if people would be reasonable about what they did, but usually it's over the top. I mean, that's usually why the police end up getting involved in a lot of things anyway, is because of that very same thing. Well, you wronged me, now I'm going to wrong you. I'm going to wrong you more. Well, now we got so many crimes involved. Everybody's going to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all of that, but it's also hard not.
But I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm just saying
it's hard not to cheer for it in certain instances. You know what I mean?
The dad that's killing the pedophile.
Yeah. So can we?
Shit.
Yeah. Can we? So like that example that we talked about before with the dad who killed the guy who was like his daughter's boyfriend or somebody that his daughter was seeing.
From what I know, and most of what I know is from papers and everything.
Yeah,
I don't have a super insight
same
or
here.
anything. But the deal was that there was a car that was abandoned on a roadway. There was a body found in it. They contacted the registered owner. He admitted that he had killed a guy and left him in the trunk. And he'd been there for several months, up to a year. It was very decomposed. He said that he had killed his daughter's boyfriend because the boyfriend had taken her across the state and then ultimately sold her into prostitution. And so he tracked him down and killed him.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's hard not to cheer for that.
And there isn't. It is now. If you're being judged by
like
your peers,
to me.
I don't know. A lot of people. I don't throw your goddamn politics out the window. I don't know anybody who, as a parent, who wouldn't feel that same way. Maybe they wouldn't feel justified in doing so themselves, or they couldn't get themselves to do it. But someone actually doing it, I don't see how your peers would find you guilty of a crime.
Yeah.
Becomes a fundamental kind of argument.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
pretty wild because I can see how it's a slippery slope because it's, people have a pretty deep capacity for disproportionate response to things like that.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that story in a previous episode about the dudes in the village who the kid got taken and held for ransom, and then they took the ransom money and ended up killing the kid anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then the parents / a bunch of other villagers stormed the police station where the guys were being held and dragged them out and burned them alive.
Did you say that here? Do you remember that?
You don't remember that? I thought I brought that up when we were talking about like people taking like the law into like the free market deciding the fucking
I bet you're right.
law enforcement. I don't know.
We do a lot of podcasts here. So
Yeah.
Sorry.
even in this the circumstance that we talked about, I mean, I have an emotional response to all of it as a human being, but the reality is I don't know what's right and wrong. I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm not him killing the guy, but I'm not for it either. I want to know what happened.
Yeah.
So I do think that it's at least very fair to have a trial. And it depends on what comes out there, but based on the knowledge that anybody has, which is very minimal, if it ran that same course, I don't see how a jury of your peers wouldn't feel the same way.
Yeah.
I think it's the fundamental is the feeling. We want to take feeling out of justice. In the
Exactly.
First place. So that's the thing where, vigilante justice is on the heels of a bunch of feels. So it's like, that's usually the worst idea. That's mob justice, right? So I don't know. I like the idea of a Batman running around the world doing that kind of shit.
It's like that other one that was here in Spokane.
really.
The guy that
Dressed up like Batman?
No, the guy that got his house burglarized, and the burglar was coming out of his garage in his car, in the stolen car,
Uh-huh.
and the guy had a gun, and as the car was driving away, he shot the guy and hit him in the back of the head and killed him.
He's one shot.
So homeowner kills dude that just stole his car. And he was, arrested and tried and found not guilty because the suspect had made a nonverbal but a visual threat, making his hand like a gun and pointing and shooting at him. So that's what they found justified him shooting him.
Wow.
Right, because he was like, oh, he
It
was
was
going to
a
come
threat.
back later.
He took it as a threat. He was going to come back and kill me
Yeah.
later. He'd already broken into my house while I was here and stole my car.
Well, he was driving a car,
Reasonable-
too. Then he was around.
Yeah, it's reasonable
Could've
to
run him over with
believe.
a car.
So
Wow.
even though he was driving away, it was reasonable to believe in his mind at the time
Well,
that he was going to come back and kill him.
I'm here to ask the important questions. What kind of car was it?
What kind of
I don't
gun
know.
was it?
I have no idea.
What kind of shoes was it wearing?
If we're talking like a classic muscle car, justified.
Justifiable.
We're talking like a Honda Civic, I don't know, just let it go. Dude.
Like a Ford Focus or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't even know with
So what do
Vigilante
we?
justice.
Yeah. So I guess what's our general consensus? Like, it shouldn't be widely encouraged, but on a case by case basis when it happens, heavy shoulder shrug.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it enough.
I think that if it happened even more and was more public, I think that more people would be like, well,
I mean,
Fuck
having
around, find out, I
having the
guess.
potential consequence of somebody coming and murking your ass would probably maybe deter somebody from trying to sell his girlfriend into prostitution.
well,
right?
an
Maybe.
armed society. An armed society
Think
is
so.
a kind society. Is one theory.
Yeah. You're more polite when there's lots of people with guns that don't want to use them, but will if they must. That's the theory. Hypothesis, if you will.
I've still been cracking up over that thing that Will brought up about like if you're in a mall full of people that all have guns and somebody pulls a gun and fires a shot and then everybody else pulls the gun and just starts shooting.
And I want to see that.
That's wild.
That sounds like
What a
a
crazy hypothetical.
good little scene in a movie or something.
Right.
Feels like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, actually, back in the day. I don't know where I feel about vigilante justice. I want a justice system without government, but I don't want people just willy-nilly deciding how to do justice. There has to be an objective moral structure, I think, to have a system that works, that we trust. So it can't be willy-nilly.
Well, and when society gets involved, what you get is mob justice. So that's a problem.
You really
right
do.
now, too.
I mean, democracy is mob justice, mob rules. We haven't solved for a lot of these things, but we haven't lived in a society where we have the freedom to have all these resources and these options and stuff. It's all very new. I mean, just like the internet is new and we don't know how we're going to act after 20 years of it. Being in a society that's wealthy and that has, where you can go and be a fucking career student or whatever, these options didn't exist for most societies. What were you going to say?
I was just thinking in today's world, let's say that a prolific child molester was murdered by somebody, I think that most of the population would probably applaud that based on how people talk.
But should we?
Well, here's the thing. Then they would say what the person's political ideology was, the murderer's ideology was, and then half the people would hate him.
Right.
Then it would be wrong.
And half the people would try and make excuses for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's, there's a lot of facets to it because mob rule isn't the same as like, you know, mob justice versus individual justice. Like if it's just one guy making, you know, what he deems to be a rational decision about the, you know, response to what he considers to be injustice is not necessarily the same as, you know, like a person, what's the saying? A person is smart, people are dumb.
Right.
You know, like that's the issue with that's the issue with mob rule. You know, was that Men in Black?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it's true. They were standing right in front of they were sitting right in front of 9/11, the buildings from the World Trade Center, and 9/11 showed that people, although there was panic, people fucking came together when there was. So the irony in there's some irony. If you guys see what I'm throwing down, I might be up my own ass, which I usually am.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably. I mean, nothing's true in every single circumstance, I guess.
But you're right, though. The dumbness of people increases by the number of people that are involved in it. Yeah.
But I would also agree that it mostly in vigilante type justice, it's way over what was ever done to them.
Yeah.
Usually.
Oh yeah, you
and everybody
spit
has
on me, and we got to.
But everybody's got their exceptions based on their morals, right?
I think that kind of that's sort of inherent because if you're gonna retaliate against somebody that's done you what you deem to be a deep enough wrong that you have to retaliate with force, you don't want to leave them the opportunity to retaliate. You know what I mean? So it's like you kind of almost have
never-ending battle.
You feel like you have to just be like, well, I guess I guess you die now because I can't risk you coming to sell my other daughter into prostitution.
Right. Well, that's where the market maybe comes in, or just people. This is just organizations of people. I don't know enough about this, but it's fascinated me ever since I heard it. But so imagine starting a company, because there's a need for this if there's no government, to adjudicate grievances. A company that's designed to do what police does. So instead of vigilante justice and instead of police, there's some private company that's more accessible to the people. Government's not accessible. You can't really complain about the police in any kind of way that gets a lot done. You have to get the media involved, and it has to be some huge scandal. Imagine a company that had different areas in it, like, so imagine, okay, people are fighting and there's actual violence. It would be people with guns, right? It'd be private mercenaries as part of this company. But that's the extreme end. Imagine most of the company is, I guess the word, I don't know, adjudicators, consulars, bridge builders, talkie people, psychologists, people that would be in the realm of communicating between grievances. So like, I don't want to say lawyers, but basically some sort of
lots of independent small claims courts.
Maybe, I don't know, but treating it like insurance companies, where these insurance companies are the ones that are doing a lot of the company stuff. This is how I've heard it explained.
Sometimes money's not enough.
True, but no, these are the people. But these people are acting on your behalf. Now, when it's just like petty violence and petty grievances, I don't know if this would be valuable in any way. But for big problems, it seems like it's something that could, I don't know, societies could pay for a service instead of allow for a organization to become, police can become a powerful entity in a city or in a state or whatever, you know what I mean? In a private system, we can keep them honest by being their customers and we can run them out of business. We can't run the police out of business. But I'm just imagining a company that looks at these problems and says, okay, we want to have the experts in violence, I guess, would be one level, but also the experts in communication, the experts in the law, so lawyers and all that kind of stuff. But as a company together, so that when people call 911, they're like, I have 5 million different problems, right? But you guys deal with a bunch of different problems.
But these bitch ain't one.
Right. But these companies are designed in the same way, where they're like, these problems are
domestic violent team get to sit.
Am I making any sense at all? Like this is
You're kind of talking in a circle, but I know what you're talking about.
what circle is it? Damn it! Help me figure out so I can get out of it. But
You want to have a private business that has all these little specialty units.
A whole industry
An
of private
industry
business.
of all these specialty units. So if there's a domestic violence, then a specialized domestic violence team goes. If there
comes out of one company, yeah.
right, if there's a this problem, but the problem is a lot of times you go to something and it's a whole something else, or something else happens too.
Sure.
So you have to have versatility, and you're probably still going to have to be armed and be able to protect
Well,
yourself.
I guess I'm not talking about necessarily like straight up calls. I'd have to flesh it out more. But I'm just interested. I want to see if it's even
It'd be
possible.
really, really cool.
What's that?
If people could just handle their own shit.
But we know that's not going to happen.
Stop being cunts.
Well, that would be nice. But I don't think.
But if we can do it as individuals, if lots of individuals start doing it, just makes it better. Just saying.
Yeah, but we're dealing with human beings, many different kinds of folks. Some people are born sociopathic and don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm torn on the whole thing, because there's definitely a part of me that appreciates the removing emotion as a variable. When you're looking at adjudicating things, where it's like, if we're going to have a system, it can't be based on emotion, it has to be based on reason and logic, and there needs to be some sort of equivalence, where it's just like, okay, well, this category gets this punishment, and this equals that, this equals that. I see the value in that, you know what I mean? Because it's like, otherwise everything gets responded to, or a ton of things get responded to with, like, crimes of passion.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another really large part of me that's like, well, if I had a child and somebody raped my child, and I found out about it and had, knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that it happened, I would 100% have no remorse over going and ending that motherfucker.
Right.
I think, hypothetically, I don't know.
Right.
but I feel like I'm self-aware enough to know that about myself, so it's like
But after that moment, then what? Then you have the rest of your life. And so you've done something that, society would probably throw you in jail for.
maybe not.
Maybe
Or-
not. Maybe not.
If it's worth being
Yeah.
tried by 12, then
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm torn. Like, I see the value on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't think you can control yourself either when it comes to something as important as your own kids. It's
Yeah.
like, good luck finding reason in those chemicals.
I mean, if you rationally decide that you are going to respond with your emotional response, then I guess you'll make your decision and it'll leave your fate in other people's hands.
Yeah. That was an extreme example, but I mean, like, if somebody left antifreeze in my yard because they didn't like my dog,
Probably wouldn't go whack them.
I'd probably hit him with my car.
Give them a chance to live. Under 15 miles an hour or over.
You know what I mean? Like, hard enough to make him tumble at least a few times.
I was trying to find a quote. I thought I had a quote that I could grab to kind of illustrate some shit. All right, well, that's enough vigilante justice. I think my system sounds ridiculous. I got to flesh it out more. But if you can imagine an industry that's competing for what police do, like when I see government, all I see is guaranteed people are going to abuse this. Guaranteed. We're giving people power to abuse it. There's no humans that are good enough to not abuse that power in some way. So obviously people abuse power. The government is too good of a system for certain people to use that power and abuse it. If we throw it into the market, there will still be abuses, but it will be perhaps less powerful, decentralized, so more community stuff, which is easier to deal with. And again, in the marketplace, we all know this as consumers. Like, if a company fucks up and you get E. coli from that company, they're done in a week, unless they're a giant company and blah, 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 blah. But the government fucks up, they just keep fucking up and nothing happens, just more problems. So to me, removing the government is the thing, get that out. Then how do we find a way to do what police does and what vigilante justice we don't want? How do we figure out that way? And I know that entrepreneurs are going to figure out that problem. Whenever there's an opportunity that's out there that somebody can make money off of, whether you like that or not, they find a way. And then we, as the customers and consumers of this product or insurance, what it might be, we fine tune how good it is based on our feedback, based on our consuming. So we're going to find companies that are going to be, they're trigger happy, or they're, they don't do anything, or this and that, and we'll find out, and with our money we'll decide the good companies that do that. So to me it's like, yeah, it sounds silly, it sounds pie in the sky, but we're guaranteed injustice and corruption at levels that can go fucking to terrible levels throughout all of history with government. With this system, we're guaranteed probably humans being human, but there's going to be an option for humans to think their way out of the problem, and at least in certain communities, and then other people can copy the communities that are successful, or those companies that are successful. That's how every other industry works. And it's like, we're not willing to take, I think people don't like profit so much, especially in the United States now. I think that's a bad word, that they see people making profit off of policing, or they and I know why, because it's like, well, they'll just make more dumb laws so they can make more money off of more prisoners and that kind of thing. But we have so much power as consumers that I don't think that would happen. I think we would jump all over the company that is the equivalent of E. coli in a company that's doing wrong in policing, or in whatever, conflict adjudication. But I don't think it's beyond human. I mean, if we want to live in a Star Trek community, we're going to have to figure out this thing, because this is what we're going to have to figure out, how to be consulars and
No, you just defeated your own argument. But don't have money in Star Trek society.
But are you okay with
still
vigilante
demand
justice?
What's that?
But are you okay with vigilante justice?
No, I don't like chaos.
Hey, listen,
like
I think I like the idea of your system on paper. I think we should try it.
It's not my system.
I think we should try it in California and see how it goes.
They're already trying it in Oregon. I don't know how that's going. Or in Washington, we're kind
What
of
do you mean
trying.
they're trying it in Oregon? What are they doing?
I don't know.
My parents live there.
What's
happening?
It's lawless. No laws.
No,
No,
that's not even-
my system doesn't exist, and probably never will. But I think it's a fun thing to think about, because it's so hard to push back against these big things where it's like, government just exists. Government and taxes, or death and taxes. That's how it works. But it's like, does it? Are we really at peak human cooperation with government that's so corrupt and stupid?
How do we get our band to
I think
that
we're
level?
just-
Or it's just like, only 3 things in life are constant: death, taxes, and sovereign and the nonprofits.
It seems
for
awkward
that.
to me that the more ability...
I don't know.
It seems awkward to me that the more ability we have to communicate with each other, all as individuals or groups or whatever, with all the technology, the worse we are at communication.
We're getting, yeah.
Nobody can get anything accomplished anymore.
Well, it's weird. I heard somebody say this. I don't know if it's true. It might be like a shovelcock thing, but we spent all of human history just learning how to do communication through body language and facial expressions and stuff, and that is like the majority of communication between people.
80-something%.
Yeah, it's crazy. But over the last several years, with the invasion, or with the adaptation of technology to our lives, we've spent a lot less time looking at each other and a lot more time focused on screens. And I heard somebody actually say, I don't know if it was a study that they saw or if it was just speculation, but that in just one generation that we've hindered our ability to use body language, and it's made people awkward around each other, more and more awkward. And I wonder, what do you think of that?
Sounds absolutely correct, and I think
Like it does sound
and
right.
people will miss danger cues that they should pick up on, just basic societal danger cues.
No shit, yeah.
And they just have no idea what's going on around them.
It's weird though. We spend 250,000 years evolving this thing, and then Steve Jobs is like, put my fucking U2 album in this fucking phone of mine, and then the kids
We're going to be having emoji conversations.
in 10 years. Yeah,
I think we should go back to writing letters to each other.
My dearest biatch.
My dearest Velveeta.
I will say,
Seriously, I think about that when I get text messages. I imagine if somebody had mailed it to me in a letter. Like, can you imagine opening a letter and all it says is, "How's you?"
sup.
What?
With a
You put a
Polaroid of
stamp on that shit?
Yeah.
You bothered with the stamp. You cunt.
Think about that next time you send a text message. Fucking think about it, man. Like you won't catch me ever. If you know me and you've ever interacted with me that way, never will I ever be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Serious.
Fucking never. When have I ever done that to you?
Never,
We don't even
ever.
text that much. None of the 3 of us do. Like,
I still-
once in a while, and when we do, it's like we're talking about
My dearest
something
Zachary.
immediately.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, is when we communicate outside of the show, which is pretty rare anymore, but if we do, we know we're going to have a 2 to 3 hour conversation probably.
Yeah.
So we make time for each other.
Yeah.
And if you don't have time, I don't have time to talk to you right now because
It's going to be a 3-hour conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, if I don't have time
on.
for you, my go-to move is I ignore you.
And that's okay. Ouch.
Until I have time for you. Or unless it's an emergency. But if you're just like, hey, I want some of your attention. I'm like, I don't have any to give right now. I'm not sorry. I'm doing stuff. It's usually jerking off. But it's important.
I'm trying to make cartoons. All right. Well, let's move along. What the hell is this one?
Moving right along. What is it?
I
can't read your own chicken
I
scratch?
can't read my own chicken. I don't have my glasses on. This one's interesting. And this is going to be brainstorming, I guess, for us.
Okay.
But this is tools on how to get out of one's own head.
Oh, yeah.
How to get
I
out
prefer the shovel dick.
The shovel dick does. That's my
Shovel
tool
dick
is
to the
comedy.
ear.
With the ear.
Just like
into
the Catholics do.
Yikes. Yikes.
No fear if it's in the ear.
What would you? Okay, so who brought
Do you
this
still
to
get a
us?
Snickers?
I mean, I hope so. That sounds great.
What are we talking about? Cheez-Its? Cheez-Its?
I like those too.
We're talking about Cheez-Its? Pope Tarts? What are we talking
Fucking
about?
hate Cheez-Its, by the way.
What? It's all right. I'll eat yours.
Pope Tarts. So to get out of our heads, what are some tools to get out of our heads? And is it wise to get out of your head? Should you stay in your head? How do you?
Sorry, you want to know where my head was at. It just caught up with the fact that you said Pope Tarts. I
Pope
was like trying
Tarts.
really hard not to go back to it. But yeah.
It'd be better than the wafers at
I think
communion.
getting out of your own head is a trick, man. You got to do some mental alchemy sometimes, especially, I don't know. I can't speak to the female experience because I've never been one. But I know for a lot of my dude associates, like we get deep in our own head sometimes because like we have this, I don't know, just something about the way we're wired where we'll start analyzing something to death to the point where we become so wrapped up in it that we can't see the forest for the trees. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it can kind of paralyze you, or it can become antithetical to your ability to make progress on whatever given thing you're trying to apply your mental energy to. And it's hard to break out of it because it's sort of a cyclic thing, you know. Like you're like, oh, what if this? But then that means this. But then what if this? And then you get lost in this what if cycle where that you can stay stuck there for infinitely if you don't get out of it. So you either have to stop caring about it, mm-hmm. which is not always an option, or you have to remind yourself. This is a trick that I use often, but you have to remind yourself that you sitting there going through hypotheticals is not going to change anything to do with the outcome. You can only plan as far as your next step, and then your only option after that is to choose whether or not you're going to execute. Everything after that is just bullshit because all the variables change once you make another move.
You're right.
And
so stressing about it is pointless.
Yeah.
It's pointless, but it happens. And
yeah.
I mean, I don't care who you are, where you come from at all in life. Everybody has days where you are just in your head. You got something going on. In my experience, it's usually something that's going on that I don't have any control of.
Right.
And I'm a fixer guy. That's my whole life has been fixing problems. And when it's something that I can't fix, I mean, it consumes me. Sometimes to the point where it's literally second by second, I got to get myself back into reality, to the point where it can drain your energy. And the one thing that I notice, even when that's going on, if I can't get it out of my head, the one thing that I do is I go to the gym. Because even for maybe that one set that I do that takes me 7 to 10 seconds, that's the only thing I can concentrate on, and it will take my head all the way out, and then I'm cleared up for a minute or two, and then maybe it'll hit me again. Sometimes just working out for 30 minutes and getting oxygen into my head just changes the whole outlook on what's going on in the day, because no matter what's going on, I just did something to improve myself. I can't control anything else that's going on, but I can control what I do and what I'm doing right now. I can't even control what's in my head, but I can control my actions.
Makes sense.
That's what I try to focus on.
Would it help, I wonder, to change the focus from oneself to external things like other people's issues, perhaps, or put yourself? Is that a good time to put your energy into others and take the focus off of yourself?
Well, I would say yes from a career standpoint,
I don't know.
but I think that the stage that I'm at in my life now, I can see where I did some damage in the past by doing that.
Putting other people.
By putting people first all the time. And
I don't mean first. I mean just like when you find.
But diverting from what I have going on and putting my attentions into other people's shit, my stuff's still there.
Yeah.
It's whether I can. Because at some point you can deal with it, but if you don't address it at all,
that's the thing.
Then
Like,
it's going to keep going.
When it's really bothering you, perhaps when you're in your head and you can't get out of your head, perhaps that's a tool. Is to like, okay, I'm gonna work on my charity plan, or I'm gonna go do. I know that I should mow the lawn for.
Oh, as far as occupying your mind, well, absolutely. Yeah, there's
I think that is kind of the intellectual equivalent to working out. You know, like that's like the physical. You know, it's just putting your energy elsewhere where it's productive for a minute, so that you can kind of hit the reset button, or at least take a break from it long enough to maintain your sanity a little bit.
Well, what are we doing in our heads? We're punishing ourselves, right? Isn't that most of the time?
Yeah. The other day, I mean, I had talked to you. I was having a day. It was just a shit day. Well, I ended up putting in that the audio book that
Mr. Nice Guy.
No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I just decided I want to listen to it, and it just kicked me right out of where I was at, because it got me focused on something else, and I was focused. It got me focused on things that I can look at in myself and change, things I can fix, and that makes me happy. So. Once I'm like, oh, I can fix this. Oh yeah, I can work on that. Oh, that makes sense. So another way to totally divert myself and take all my attention away from all the other shit that I couldn't deal with.
Right.
I think that is a good trick. Is diverting your energy into something else, like some other singular thing, you know, or something that can hold your focus. Because when I get lost in my head, I have shit like what you're talking about, where something's bugging me and I just can't put it down. my brain's just chewing on it like a dog with a bone. But usually that's a control issue, you know, where it's like it's something that I feel like I can't, like I want the outcome, I desperately want the outcome to be something, but I can't influence it one way or the other to get it there. So I'm just agonizing over it, you know, and it is kind of self-punishment, but it's more just like something in your brain is like, if you dwell on this hard enough, you can achieve the outcome that you want, but you can't.
Or come up with an answer that you don't have yet. Yeah. And here's the thing, we only know the experiences from men, but I think this falls under the line of men and the thinking and some of the expectations that maybe we grew up with. We are the problem solvers. We are the fixers. In general, you know, people will come to us to solve problems. At least that was my life.
Yeah.
I assume it's that way for
Had
most
that experience,
men. Yeah. So when you can't fix something right now, or the resolution isn't in your hand at all, I mean, that just eats away at your ego or your pride.
Yeah, I think that is a personal failing though, to get to that point with it, because you can do a lot of damage trying to fix shit that isn't your shit to fix. You know what I mean? Especially, I mean, you want to put it in a simple context. Talk about relationships. You know, I've had relationships in the past where, because I was similar to you. You know, I mean, my dad always told me, if you want a certain outcome, you need to work towards it. You know, like chart your own course, you know, do your own thinking, like make if you don't like something, fix it, you know, to the best of your ability. And like there's wisdom to that for sure. But when you allow it to, you know, alter your perception to the point where your response to any problem that you encounter, even if it's not yours, is to immediately try to fix it, that's not healthy, and it can do a lot of damage. Like if I've had girlfriends in the past that have been, you know, like, hey, I want to talk to you about this thing that I'm dealing with, and my immediate response is to either just be like, here's what I'm going to do about that, or here's what you need to be doing about that to fix it. And they're like, dude, I don't need you to tell me how to fix it. I just wanted you to pay attention to me, so I can get it out, you know? So it's like, maybe just curb your enthusiasm, gents. And I'm speaking to myself as well, because I've been there, you know, but I like to think that I've grown beyond that most of the time. But it's still, I feel it in there still. It
comes from a good place.
It's a knee-jerk reaction where it's like, I bet I can fix that. I know what you need to do. I can make this all go away.
And you stress about it for days and days in your own head.
Again, that was my whole life. Yeah. You think I've probably had some problems with that? I probably pissed some people off.
Yeah, for sure.
In my life doing that.
For sure. And so
it comes from a good place though. Like that's the thing. It's hard to be mad at people when they're trying to give you advice or trying to help you out. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
it
people
is.
just want to be listened to.
I've been on the other side of that equation too, where I'm just like, I literally just want to, like, I already know what needs to be done, and I'm planning to do it probably, but I just want to bitch about it to one of my friends for a little bit, and, you know, and like to have them be like, well, you need to do that. I'm like, I'm fine. I know.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to go, oh, fuck, man, that sucks. You know?
But a good friend,
It does, doesn't it?
You deserve to feel fucking angry about
but
it.
a genuine good
Just-
friend that gives a shit, you can say, you know what, I'm just bitching, man. I just need you to listen.
Yeah, and that you're
Just
right. That
listen
is
and
kind of on
fucking
you.
nod.
That is kind of on you too.
It's always about communication
Yeah, it
and
is.
setting the boundaries,
It is,
right?
yeah.
It's a fucking
Yeah.
A.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I have rather than just agonizing over one thing, I have times where there's so many things going on in my head that I can't, like, it's just like mental overload, and I have like entire days sometimes where it's like I can't pay attention to this one thing. I probably just have ADD. I don't know.
Undiagnosed.
I can't like, I've had days where I'm working, you know, and I try to be really proficient at whatever job I'm doing because I'm spending my time doing it. But I have days where I can't hang on to something for more than a couple minutes at a time, and it's not for lack of trying. I'm sitting here like, come on, dude, like, we got to get this done, and I'm just madly off in 8 bazillion different directions, and it's like trying to fucking get a handful of bees that
That's
are
all
outside
part
of
of
the
your
hive,
diet,
you know,
right there.
What's that?
That's all diet.
It's all diet related. Go do some push-ups,
He eats,
bro.
he eats pretty good, I think. Yeah.
Pretty good. I haven't
better
this
than me,
week though, and I fucking feel it. Like I kind of just fucked off when I was in Canada.
That's what Canada does to people.
I know, but I was just like, yeah, I'll have a celebration, you know. I was like, fuck, I'll get nice and fat before
I didn't mean to
75 hard.
I didn't mean to tear your thought out. Sorry about that.
No, well, that's my thought was over, but it's hard to. I feel like the same solution that we proposed applies to that, where usually it's instead of trying to force myself to focus on this thing that I feel like I have to, I go divert myself into something else for a while, and it usually is enough to kind of remind me how to fucking pay attention to.
Can you think of a time that you
know?
guys were in your head too much and you managed to get yourself out?
Yeah, every week when I come podcast with you guys.
back to normal socialization. Fair enough.
Actually,
That's a
there's
good
something to be
tool.
said for
Start a podcast.
There you go.
What's that, Jeff?
So actually, there's something to be said for that. I mean, we spend a lot of time on the microphone, but we also spend a lot of time in the backyard bullshitting too. So
Yeah.
our days are 6 to 10 hour days.
Yeah,
Just laying it all out there.
yeah. Involving yourself in things that force you outside of your own head is a decent remedy for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Make friends.
It's hard to come up with the motivation to do that when you're lost in your own head, though. Like for me, the last thing I want to do when I'm really like up in la la land in my head is to go be around people. I'm just like, no,
You know, and-
that will
Yeah.
distract me from my misery.
You know, you're talking about doing your job and your mind's just on other shit. Yeah, man. That sucks. That really sucks. Because you're in a position where you can't go deal with
Right.
whatever's
I
in
can't
your head
just
at that
trot
time.
off to the gym real quick.
kind of
Yeah,
torturous,
I-
depending
you
on
know,
what it is.
Dealt with that more than once myself, and it's like, I don't want to hear your problem. I have my own problems, and I mean, as much as yours make my problems feel better, I don't want to be here listening to them right now.
Yeah.
Well, to get out of my head, I think I use art. I think I've always used art.
Yeah.
And that is like the solo person's way to get your shit out of you. So music or paint. I
Sucking
don't
the
paint.
venom out of the wound.
And putting it into a canvas or an audio file. I don't know. There's certainly no one way to get out of it. But it was interesting to hear you guys'.
Yeah, those are some ways.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to switch it up to a weird thing. It's kind of a subject I want to come back to more and more, but we're all kind of media trained. And I wanted to ask you guys, like, I guess I'm just annoyed by commercials because for my whole life, you know, it feels like we all know what a good story is.
Wait. This is a perfect time for a commercial break.
We'll be right back after these messages. We all know what a good story is. We all know what good acting is and bad acting is. I mean, to a relative degree. But they still make terrible commercials that are condescending to the people that they're selling their products to. And for me, it's like condescending to, I don't know, I guess my ego is like, fuck you. Who are you talking to? A third grader? That's a product for me, and you're treating me like I'm in the third grade. I don't understand it. So as media trained
But here
people.
you go, Zach. It's bad for that reason. It's bad on purpose to cause that reaction to make it stick in your memory because there's no such thing as bad press.
Okay, so now we're getting to where I would like to go. What did you call it? You call it something interesting, like
Neuromarketing.
Neuromarketing.
Okay, so here's a little deep dive I did years ago that alarmed me but also kind of impressed me. So neuromarketing is a entire field of science that's obviously related to marketing, but it is gauging any advertising campaign's ability to generate a certain neurological response in the audience, right? So that sounds very esoteric. Let me boil it down to something that actually happened. So Cheetos, when they ran a study. Who owns Cheetos? Is it Frito-Lay?
Yeah,
I think so.
So Frito-Lay
Oh, yeah, baby.
conducted a study where they hooked what is it, EEG? What's the shit that measures your brain activity?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they hooked people up to this and they had them eat Cheetos, and they figured out that the same part of your brain that lights up when you're doing something that's like against the rules, like when you're being a deviant, is it lights up when you see the orange Cheeto dust on your fingers.
I remember you saying this.
Yeah, right. So they were like, okay, how can we apply this data? So then they ran the ad campaign. You may remember these commercials where it was Chester Cheetah.
He's a badass.
Where he was just like
Riding a
edgy. Like,
motorcycle.
they're like, cool. We're gonna make him wear sunglasses. He's gonna talk like
In
this.
a leather coat, I think.
Yep.
He was the Fonz,
and then
basically.
he's gonna encourage people to do shit that's mischievous, right? Like he's like, I remember a commercial where it was like he's like behind the couch with some kids and he's like, yeah, do it. And then they get up and they like shoot like Cheeto rockets at the back of their parents' heads that are watching TV or something, you know? Like,
It's
just
not
shit
easy
like that.
being a deviant.
It's seriously, and then they did that. They ran that ad campaign, and then they measured, with all the data, they determined that their sales went up.
Okay.
Because of this ad campaign that they did. Because then every time somebody did something that they felt was mischievous, or not every time, but like they'd be, there were times where they were like,
Give me some
I
Cheetos.
want some
I'm
fucking
hungry for Cheetos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
so it's like, and this was back
Terrifying.
was
Awesome.
back in like.
I just stole beer from
2000
7-Eleven. Now I need to go in and buy some fucking Cheetos.
And that's
I gotta
just
go
Cheetos.
back and steal some Cheetos.
That's just Cheetos. So there's all these other companies know this
This
too.
is not new, dude. This was back in like 2009. You know what I mean? So like they were already going to these lengths to try and engineer certain responses out of a consumer.
I thought it was more like the irritating commercials like the $5 footlong, which I have never eaten a Subway since that commercial came out.
The song, because of the song. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
you remember the song, and
I
you
do.
talking about it just made me want Subway, so they're still winning.
See, that's the dark part of marketing. It's like good or bad. We just want you talking about it because it'll
Yeah.
get to somebody that will.
We don't
just try
care
our
for
damn
anybody
product.
who wants to stand on principle and never have our product again because of our dumb jingle. They're going to talk about how dumb they think that fucking jingle is, and
Exactly.
somebody else who's less passionate is going to go, "Oh yeah, I might get Subway on the way home."
Exactly. Well, you remember when I had a conspiracy show, I looked into subliminal advertising and then just kind of artistic subliminal advertising. Like there's really no such way
Wait,
of.
I'm sorry to cut you off. There's a big punchline that I thought was important with my story.
Please.
They won an award.
Oh.
They held a private ceremony for effective neuromarketing of Frito-Lay. The people that ran that ad campaign won a fucking award for that.
From whom, I wonder? From their own company.
Yeah, they gave themselves an award.
We're so good.
I forgot where I was going.
Anyway, I'm so sorry.
No,
I derailed you, but I
that's
was like,
better.
That feels like
Now we have
that
closure.
needed to be said.
It did.
Like I just got so deeply offended by that at the time when I found that out. Like I was like, fuck you, like you're manipulating me through the colors that you make things, like color combinations
Right.
and shit, or like the way that my neurological makeup might be predisposed to respond to something. Like
Yellows make you hungry, reds.
out of here, get the fuck out of here with that. So like that was like the beginning of me being like very militantly opposed to advertising.
Right.
And you can't get away from it, you fucking can't. I mean, unless you're fucking out in the woods, that's part of the appeal, I think, of being out in the woods, especially now, is like you can get away from all the fucking noise that's being thrown at you all the time.
And really all the fucking
But even
waves.
then, not really. If you're taking equipment that has brand names on it, you're still being fucking advertised to in the woods. Your Coleman fucking sleeping pad is telling you, hey, remember this when you think of sleeping kind of shitty in the woods, but less shitty than you would have slept? Coleman.
I wonder if you got rid of all the things that had a fucking logo on it or product of some kind, their name on it, what would exist left? Like a couple
that drawing that your kid did for you that's on your fridge would probably still be there, but
not
your
the
fridge wouldn't.
Yeah. Maybe some t-shirts, but the logo's on the tag.
Yeah. So no clothes.
So
makes sense.
I don't know shit that grandma knitted. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if this is true, but I heard somewhere years ago that there are lounges in some airports that you either like have to have a membership to, or maybe it's like a certain level of American Express card, whatever. It's some kind of bougie shit. But you go in there, and the whole point of it is that there's no form of advertising whatsoever in there. Like there's no radio with advertisements. There's no, like there's, I don't know if you hear the announcements, that'd be kind of weird. Can you get it? Shit, I missed my plane because I was so basking in the anti-ad
I'm so serene,
but like when I first heard that, I was like, no fucking way. Like who cares?
Yeah.
But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I know what that would be like, you know, like fucking being in an environment where there's literally no form of advertisement. Like,
that means they have to strip you down when you get there and put you in a fucking bathrobe or something.
How many times have you been in an environment that there wasn't something advertised?
Yeah, you can't even go to a bar. You can't get a glass.
Seriously. Even if you're in the shower by yourself, your shower fixture
shampoo,
says mowing on it or some shit.
Fucking soap says dial on it.
Seriously. Can you guys think
your
of a
dick
single
says
time
dick on it
in your adult life that you've been somewhere where there was nothing advertising to you?
No, not even the woods. Not even the woods because of Coleman.
If you're riding your fucking four-wheeler.
Fuck, we are reading logos constantly.
If you've got boots on.
Right? Dude, even your socks have got a little Nike swoosh in there or something.
Branding is everywhere.
Damn. And by the way, SKATCAST.com, you can get a lot of things branded with SKATCAST on it. And Just a Ride in particular. Definitely check out the 2.7.
Got to get that piece of the pie, baby.
We might as well play the game while we're in the game, I guess. Right?
If you can't get out of the game, your option is to play the game or quit.
I wonder how important...
Quitting's not an option.
How important would it be to your chemistry to not see advertisements?
Wouldn't that be wild?
It wouldn't bother me. You'd shit.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Probably wouldn't be that big of
I feel like
as I wear a North Face hat.
I feel like
you
it'd
don't
be
have
like
to
a
see
sigh of relief. Don't you think? Like
That's what
having it all gone.
That's why it's intriguing. Yeah.
Oh. Like holy
Nobody
shit.
wants anything from me.
It's like when you're
Thank
fucking
you.
okay. So did you ever fall asleep back in the day to like whether it's a VHS that ended and then after it's done, it's just like the white noise on your TV, and you're kind of hovering in that state of like you're waking up because it's annoying, but you don't want to actually wake all the way up and do something about it.
So you curl up in a ball.
So you're
tighter.
you're just like and then you finally decide to get up and you turn it off, and there's that moment of like, holy shit!
It was worth the effort.
I have to imagine it would feel like that.
Yeah. No shit.
You know what I mean?
Like,
It's just like it's been there, and you just decided to deal with it. But when it finally went away, you're like,
if
holy
you were
fuck!
not
I didn't
allowed,
realize how much that was bothering me.
If companies were not allowed to put their logos or insignias just on clothes, it would change the lives of the youth. Just because
everybody.
No shit.
Nobody would.
They wouldn't know what cool is.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody,
Fuck.
fucking rich people do that fucking Gucci flex shit all the time.
Everyone does.
You know?
Even
I've got the Louis Vuittons.
I think every class of people has got a flex on. Like, I saved up all this money and I bought this thing.
I got my Ferrari.
Yeah, or a pair of shoes or a fucking nice purse for a middle class person.
Yeah, it's wild. That'd be an interesting business model. I feel like that could be a whole genre of businesses, right? Like you could have any business, whatever your entrepreneurial
That's
thing
the
wants
genre.
to do.
Generic.
But just have it be an ad-free environment. You know what I mean? Like here's my bakery, but in here there's no fucking advertisement, and it'll be the most comfortable place you visit today. We have like little quiet white noise machines that make everything really nice.
It's got to cut all the waves. It's got to somehow cut the radio and TV and internet waves.
That's what I mean.
Out
Like
of there,
everything,
yeah.
like it's just like a isolated. Like if you come in my bakery, you'll have a scone and an orgasm from how not advertised you are. Like
It's basically a sensory deprivation
scones
chamber,
are these?
but it's bigger and it has scones. You're not floating in water.
I don't know, man.
Well, don't you kind of feel that when you guys go out into the woods? Like when we are in the cities, we're inundated with all these frequencies that are all around us. And I feel like that, I don't know if it's true or not, but it does feel like there's some anxiety perhaps from having radio and TV and internet waves just pulsing through it. I mean, they're constantly around us. At any point, any device can tap right into them because they're all around us. When you get out into the woods, they're still probably out there at this point. There's fucking satellites and all that shit out there. But I bet it's drastically different.
Listen,
do you feel the buzz go away?
It is the most incredible feeling of alone that there is. I mean, there's a buzz in the woods in general. It kind of has its own. The world has its own hum, and it's so quiet that hum gets really loud.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, you hear tree branches snapping, and you can hear the smallest of mice walking across the ground.
I would just hear a cloud of mosquitoes trying to eat my ass. But
yeah, there's bugs and shit that show up too. But even that, yeah, the smallest bug sounds so loud. But at the same time, there's this hum going on just from the earth itself, so to speak.
Well, it's not even so to speak. That's actually a scientific fact. I read about this. You just jogged my memory. But the Earth, there's what's the fucking name for it? It's 7.83 hertz.
Oh, the something resonance.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I wish I did.
It's the Schumann resonance.
Schumann,
that's
thank
what
you.
the fuck it's called. So anyway, that frequency is the frequency in which we exist the most homeostatically, I guess. Is like it's just our most natural state of existence, and that's how we can achieve actual relaxation is within that frequency. And there's scientific data to show that you can't get it in an urban center. Like there's too much other frequencies going around where you can't hear it, like you can't perceive it. But when you get out away from all of that and you're isolated, you can actually hear it or feel it or experience it again, and it actually has like a really
it's recharging or something.
Crazy recharge. Yeah.
And by the way,
makes sense.
When you're in that zone and you feel that
take your shoes off
and everything, no, you want to talk about the time to get into your head. That is the time to do it, and you can solve world problems sometimes in those situations. Or write. That's a lot of times when I write is when I'm in my head and no one else is around, nothing's around.
It is important to be able to be a person that can sit under a tree and think and be comfortable inside your head that far away from everyone else. I think that's important. I think that's like the Buddhist mentality. You need to be able to do that. But a lot of us won't take the time to calm ourselves and sit under a tree and collect our thoughts and maybe not think about anything.
Right. For you, all you'd be thinking about seriously is the bugs that are crawling on you.
I think I'd get over it eventually. Once they had eaten all of me, I think it'd be fine.
And I actually wasn't trying to be funny. I was being serious. I know it's a thing for you.
I don't like bugs biting me and making me itch, definitely. Yeah. I like the woods.
I think I'm desensitized because I grew up in a house that like had no defense against bugs whatsoever. And I grew up in a place that has large bugs. Like British Columbia has big fucking spiders and shit, you know? So like I just had bugs fucking in my space all the time growing up. Like all the fucking time.
That's why I don't like bugs.
And so I was just like, well, I guess bugs are just a fact of life. Like I just kind of fucking got over it. I'm like, whatever. Unless it's like on me trying to bite me, I'm just like, fuck it, whatever.
Dude, I'll tell you my story where I don't like it's creepy crawly things, I guess, in general. Lived in a house with a basement, and my dad actually told me this story because he had the same story happen to him, and then he didn't empathize with me, which I thought was very strange. But we have hobo spiders and all. There's some pretty nasty spiders that live in the Northwest.
We have tarantulas that are native to here. Do you know that? Little ones.
I'm less attracted to this place now.
They're like this big.
Fuck them.
I had one in my kitchen on the South Hill, and they're not even super furry either. They're weird.
Then fuck them.
I'll find one.
But anyway, so my dad told stories of basically like in Spokane, he had a brick next to his bed because he would wake up covered in spiders and have to smash them every morning to, just be covered in spiders. And I was like, fuck, that's insane, Dad. By the way, can I have the bedroom downstairs? I'd like to go sleep in the basement now. And he's like, ha, 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 ha. And I woke up with a bunch of spiders on me. And every day, but I still wanted to be downstairs.
Did you beat the shit out of yourself with a brick?
No, I didn't have a brick. My dad wouldn't trust me with a brick. Fuck. No, I don't know. I did kill a lot of spiders, though, and it freaked me out hardcore. And they are the ones that bite you and leave you none of them bit me though. That's the amazing thing. I didn't get bit a lot. Once or twice, I guess.
A lot of those spiders that can really fuck you up are like not like they only bite you in like weird circumstances.
When you wake up terrified and you scream in their face, that would be one.
Maybe, I don't know.
All right. Well, I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about. We started with media trained, and now we're. Why are commercials so fucking condescending, guys? Is it because they hate us? Like, it's because they hate us. I say we move on to the Reasonableness Party, but I found a quote that I wanted to read to you guys to kind of start this off, because I think I sound like pie in the sky guy when it comes to
inspirational quote day.
It's
inspirational quote.
It's
day.
absolutely an inspirational quote.
Teamwork
but this is about anarchy.
is an attitude. Sorry.
Tell me, team building is a bunch of shit. No, all right. Anarchism is not a romantic fable, but the hard-headed realization based on 5,000 years of experience that we cannot entrust the management of our lives to kings, priests, politicians, generals, and county commissioners. I think that's a basic, simple premise.
What about queens? Didn't say queens.
You know, it didn't
necessarily give a
mentioned
resolve. It just says what we're doing isn't working, and I agree with that.
Yeah, well, anarchists don't have solutions. I don't think that's the thing. Whenever I mention that, it's like, okay, then solve all the things. It's the same with atheism.
Well, we don't have any.
When I say that I'm an atheist to somebody, they're like, well, then what's created the universe, smart guy? And it's like, why would I know that? You don't know that. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you know that, but I'm not claiming to know that. And that's the thing about anarchism. It's just realizing that this ideology around government, or series of ideologies around government, is obviously causing major problems and creates corruption that is hard for society to deal with. We can't even touch it.
I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of people to argue with you about that.
Yeah, I think so. Here's the sticky thing with that, because I agree with that. Like, I resonate with that shit.
You don't get the point. Yeah.
But people aren't predisposed to like that kind of attitude doesn't create a leader of men. You know what I mean? Like, if you're sitting there going, well, I don't have all the answers, but these things that we're doing are not correct, and so we have to find a different way, but I don't know what that way is. Let's figure it out together. Deep, like, that sounds good to me as an intellectual, which I don't know if I'm the pinnacle of being an intellectual, but I think about some shit.
You do? With your intellect?
I do with my intellect, but people, I guess, hashtag not all, I don't know, I'm trying to tiptoe around this, but there's a lot of data that reflects that people want to follow somebody who's confident that they have the answer. You know what I mean? Like, if you put a bunch of people in a room and nobody knows what's going on, they're going to follow the loudest person that says that they do.
This empowers all those people. Like, this takes away the government telling us what to do, and it gives all those leaders the ability to, without restrictions other than the restrictions that their industries or their customers might put on them or their society might put on them, lets them be creative and be leaders. Like, companies won't go away in this kind of system, and those are based around strong leadership and strong ideas and those kind of things. Government quelches ideas, and every time you see a big government, you don't see innovation pop out of those countries. Very rarely do you see them do anything other than recreate things, or it's not, you don't get Steve Jobs from Soviet Russia, because there's no incentive to be that. I don't know, I'm going on about all that shit.
Yeah, I don't know, and I could be up my ass about that, but I think it's like we were talking about with the king, like, oh, I will die for my king,
right.
Shit, like some fundamental part of us that we have not evolved beyond,
right?
Generally speaking, that is not attracted at the end of the day to somebody who's saying, I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but follow me and we'll figure it out. Like,
and even more,
I might follow a person like that, or at least walk with them for a while to see where we get to. But your average person is going to be like, no, I want somebody to tell me that they know the pathway to heaven, and that this is what we need to do, and this is why it's right, and don't question me, just do what I say.
Well, I guess with me saying I don't like government, I'm not saying that I don't have any other. The things that I think are the best ways to cooperate are demonstrably markets. It's demonstrably people cooperating voluntarily. So I wouldn't even call myself an anarchist. I would call myself a voluntarist. Like, that distinction to me is important, because it's like, everything that people do should be a voluntary transaction between them. There's really no exceptions, And that's where government comes in and is like, well, fuck that. We're just going to force a bunch of shit. And that's why I look at government as this monopoly
I didn't volunteer
of force.
for my social security number.
Right. Well, what's the point of it? The point of that is to pay taxes and to be a fucking, to make it more manageable for the government,
That's how they did it. We need to issue people a sovereign number at birth. That way.
No numbers. Just be a person. Just let everybody run around naked.
We need everyone to love our band, Zach.
Fair enough. We tattoo them with the band logo on it. They wonder what it is.
Everyone gets a QR code on the back of their neck.
Well, I mentioned the anarchy because we're coming to the reasonablest party. And this time we're talking about ideology just overall. And I'm not even sure where this conversation is going to go. But the reasonablest party, I think, since we have to accept that there's going to be government, that's what this is all about. I guess we can be against ideology. Perhaps that is the ideology of the reasonablest party, is that it will never it will always be it will always be like science, and that once new information comes to prove something doesn't work anymore, we reject it.
Is this one of those like change is the only constant type arguments?
Oh God,
it's like
it's basically
the only
Chrysler
ideology
commercial.
is anti-ideology. Is that what you're saying?
Lead follower, get out of the way, says Lee Iacocca in the 90s. I don't know. So what I'm saying is, like, I don't know. We've talked about this for weeks and weeks now. I'm not even sure how much we've talked about it on the show, but it does seem like the ideology is the problem in a lot of the politics not working is the ideology. They're not compatible with each other, and they almost seem to like purposely not being compatible with each other. So as a reasonablest party, if we want to get things done, the goal is to use government as a way to make life better for the people that live under it, there shouldn't be any ideology. That's the ideology. No ideology.
Right.
Is that that's hypocritical on some level, but there you go. That's the only ideology we accept is no ideology.
It's like anarchists against anarchy.
Exactly.
I'm not so much into being anti things as I am being pro the antithesis of things, if that doesn't sound pretentious and convoluted, which it did as it came out of my mouth. But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, yeah. I think that when you're spending the vast majority of your time being like, I'm against this, I'm against that, I'm against this.
Pro free thinking. That's
fine. Yeah. How about we be pro the solution, or at least the thing that is antithetical to that. You know what I mean? So
let's look at it like this then. Ideology is kind of the enemy of evidence and logic a lot of times. So I guess then we are the pro. So instead of being
ideology is against freedom.
Yeah. A lot of times, unless the ideology is some kind of weird freedom.
So can we?
Which I guess had before. Can
we define terms? What is ideology?
Okay. In the political sense, or just in general?
Well, in whatever sense we're referring to in this segment.
I don't know the dictionary definition, but I would say.
Sure. I just want people to be able to frame what we're talking about when we say ideology.
A set of rules, a set of guidelines for a belief system that you can become a member of, basically. So an ideology to me,
like thrust upon you, like, oh, if you're in our club, this is what you believe.
Exactly. Yeah. So a club with tenets. So it could be a cult, it could be a religion, it could be a government.
Reasonablest party.
Yeah, it could be the reasonablest party. But our ideology is to try our best to not have ideology.
Yeah.
So, but the ideology, I guess, the thing that bothers me about ideology isn't necessarily, I mean, not all ideologies are equal, but they have a rotating cast of, it doesn't matter who you're talking to. If they believe, fill in the blank ideology, I don't need to talk to that person, because I'm not talking to Jeff and saying, hey, what do you believe? It's not what you believe. It's whatever the fucking leadership is. Yeah. You're repeating things. So when I talk to you about something, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the ideology. And so it's pointless. Like, you could just put whoever in front of you. The people in my life that I enjoy being around, like you guys, I don't know where to put you, what camp. We all call ourselves somewhat, I mean, not even, but libertarian, but none of us are real libertarians in any kind of sense. And so maybe we lean this way or that way with other things. And I think most people are that way. But when you meet ideologues, just at the fucking bar, just normal folk that aren't even part of the party, don't even vote, but they spout the ideology. You know, that's what mainly mainstream politics is now, is talking points being barked at each other and then misinterpreted by each other and then used to call each other
and a lot of
Gargamel.
times purposely misinterpreted.
It must work. Just like the marketing thing that Shaiden told us about, it does seem like that's like they know it's a bunch of shit and they know it's going to cause strife, but it's that strife.
But that's
I think
what
that
they
they're.
want.
I think so.
Yeah, they want chaos.
That by itself should be like, well, this system's stupid. This obviously, if we could just get rid of this, that would probably, and then we can fix things ourselves. I don't know. This being government.
So it seems like. So what would be the antidote to that sort of behavior? It seems to me that it would be
Evidence-based things.
like as it pertains to the reasonablest platform, you know, or whatever, you know, if it was like, if we're supposed to prescribe, you know, our recommendations for, you know, having a functional society with as we define a reasonable functional society, you know, branded by Just a Ride podcast.
One we could be proud to give our children one day. That's what we want, is to be here's that thing we're proud of.
We want to prize free thought. Like,
Yes.
we want to prize individualism while maintaining a sense of community, which I think would.
It's natural to humans.
Isn't
to
that
do.
like the antidote to toxic tribalism? Is if you're like encouraging people to be an individual, but also still value the community aspect of their lives.
Right.
You know,
We
it's
want
just
them to cooperate,
We're
right?
in this together, but we don't have to be one another.
Right. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So would we go so far as to incentivize that sort of behavior somehow, or are the fruits of that behavior incentive enough on their own?
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the society. Everybody has the idea of leave me alone. Well, that's fine. I'll leave you alone. But when somebody needs help, step up and help.
Yeah.
For sure. I think people that when I mean, the Enlightenment principles are kind of what we're living off of now, and the idea of that is that if you leave man if you let him go about his own rational self-interest, the benefits of that to society will be greater than if we tried to centrally plan and put into the, you know, when we watched China, you know, they had all the Great Leap Forward and they had all these 5-year plans and 10-year plans. And these were the smartest people in China. And they continually messed it up. But when you leave a market, you know, like in a place like the United States or in Hong Kong, an even better example, in China, in Hong Kong, you leave people to their own rational self-interest to cooperate with each other. And you build these amazing lines of systems, like shipping lines and communication lines and all these things that the government wouldn't have the first fucking clue on how to do. But these people kind of stumbled their way in through a market, and the customers came along with them. The first customers paid a bunch, and then slowly it became available to everyone. I don't know. It's not perfect, but it's the more moral way to do things. It obviously is more natural. And these central planners never figure it out.
It's kind of interesting. I look at Pierce, Idaho, which is what 508 people, according to the sign that's been up for the last 30 years.
And no one's died, no one's been born.
Yeah, the population. What's funny is I go to my apartment.
It's a roundabout estimate.
I've always got these handwritten letters stacked up that I haven't done my census yet. I don't live there. So apparently they're waiting for my census so they can change the population sign.
509.
Watch, they're really lazy. There's 12,000 people there.
You know, I mean,
you
it's
could
a
have
small
had a McDonald's.
community, and you know, of course, their community has a government, and just like any other community, government has its problems, and you know, all that shit. And what I love about that town, you're either from Pierce or you're running from something and ended up in Pierce. That's kind of my mental idea of
Fair.
And things are handled
like
very
Alaska.
differently there.
Yeah,
It is-
exactly.
It is an extremely small town, and not everybody gets along. But you know what? Nobody locks their doors. Nobody steals each other's shit. And yeah, they might get in a bar fight and beat the shit out of each other, and it's kind of an unwritten rule. You go in and drink a beer when you're done. Like, this shit happens.
Yeah.
Police aren't up there.
Yeah.
You know, they pop into town once in a while, but they don't really deal with anything. The people handle it. My point is, it really is a leave me the fuck alone. But when somebody's got a problem, the community always seems to find a way to come together and help somebody.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to be able to watch that and at times be a part of that.
Unless
it's
that
fantastic.
somebody is the dick that nobody in the community likes.
And that was the guy that stole my beer about 20 years ago. And I got it back. He bought me beer, and in fact, I let him have one when he replaced my beer after I
what a
confronted
gentleman.
him. And he's in prison now.
Was it fair to say
some
that,
other things.
that maybe our cities are just unmanageable? Like all of this is too big. Like our
Yes.
country's too big. These cities are too big.
It would just be interesting to see a city more divided and spread out. You know what I mean? Like make it so whatever neighborhood you live in has that small town aspect to it. Like, you know, in order to
It's hard to do that when you stack them on top of each other.
But wasn't the world kind of that way, you know, not so long ago, 70, 80 years ago?
What
I
do you
mean, do you know your neighbors?
Yeah, but not till recently. Most of the time, in most of the places I've lived, I haven't known any of my neighbors. But
Yeah, I mean,
just
isn't
I've
this
lived here
our
8
fault
years. So.
too for
Yeah.
as citizens destroying our own communities just simply by not communicating?
Yeah.
I mean, I happen to know my neighbors now,
Partially,
but I
it's a
didn't
double-edged
for 6
sword,
years.
man. Because sometimes people knowing more about you is a bad thing. You know, like your
If you're a
neighbors,
fucktard,
you know,
yeah.
or if they are.
Well, there's that too. But
You know what I
can-
mean? Like I remember living with you. You were like, hey, let's not bring a bunch of people over because, you know, we don't want people knowing where the bat cave is necessarily, you know, like just only people we super duper trust. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I feel the same way. Like I don't bring people over to my house unless there's somebody that I feel confident that I want knowing where I live. You know what I mean? So it's like your neighbors already know where you live, but they also might be the kind of trash person that you wouldn't bring over.
You don't have to invite them into your home and have dinner with them, but at least fucking know their name.
Yeah.
Or, you know, have a reason to help them if they need help. Or, you know what? Maybe that's the only person available to help your ass out, and they had a skill that you didn't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I'm just kind of playing
you don't
devil's
have to be
advocate.
friends, but you still have to help. I believe that.
I don't know this anymore because I live in this neighborhood. My kids are grown up, but there has to be neighborhoods that still have their kids all come together and they have the neighborhood fair and they do. I wonder.
I'm sure
that's
there are,
changed.
but it's not the norm anymore.
Doesn't seem like it. It's kind of a nostalgia thing.
And maybe I'm totally wrong. I wasn't alive that long ago, but it seems like, at least how it's portrayed, there were a lot more neighborhoods. And yes, there was less population and everything. But even in the big cities, I mean, block by block, they were all segregated, but they were all family.
Yeah. I don't know. Strange. We are,
And maybe
we're
it's
getting,
like that still in New York. And I don't know.
Yeah.
we're getting more
I know nothing
connected
about it.
and we're getting less connected at
It
the same
is
time.
fascinating though, because when you were describing Pierce, I was like, yeah, that was the town I grew up in. Like not Pierce specifically, but the
Right.
town I grew up in was a little village in the mountains, and the same deal. Never locked our doors, didn't lock our fucking car doors.
I feel that way about Idaho, honestly. I just drive to Idaho and I just don't lock my car and all that stuff. I don't know why. Yeah.
You should lock your car in Coeur d'Alene, bro.
Well, you guys both
It's
had-
all got that small town feel. It's a whole big small town feel.
you guys both had a taste of Pierce, and you know,
Yeah.
I thought it was quite an interesting experience. I mean,
No McDonald's.
My
so,
taste
I mean,
of
it's
Pierce was more like
uncivilized, but-
a shot glass full of Pierce. It was like a stiff
Yeah.
shot of whiskey. But I liked it.
you weren't really in the town. I guess
It
you
burned
were
so
up the
good.
mountain.
Yeah, we were out in the woods. I got to hang out in the town for a little bit.
We were at the bar for a minute.
I played in the bar and the fireplace was going and I could not.
It was about 130 in there. It
Yeah,
was hot.
and I could not sing. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna try and sing my best for you, but my guitar is actually really warm. So is there another place I can sit?" They're like, "Nah, you sit right there." Okay, all right, fine.
Dance.
Well, this conversation started with ideology, and here we are. That was a fun ride.
It's usually how it goes.
Ride over. I think that was really simple. We're not anti anything. I like that. We are pro. I would say evidence based, reason based, and I think we got to throw some sort of morality thing in there too, where the closest to objective morality as possible for what people can tolerate.
Yeah, and individuality.
And yes, and we care about individual liberty, and that doesn't hold to much ideology
Well,
either.
individual liberty and individual thinking and conclusion crafting.
Yes, all of those things fall into that one. All right, so let's move on to advice that we give ourselves. This is one, intentionally breaking up patterns. I think Shaiden is leading us on that one.
Yeah. So I do this mentally, but also physically. So if you know that you do something a certain way, and it doesn't have to, like, I'm not necessarily talking like, oh, I normally treat my spouse or significant other this way, so I'm going to do it differently and see how that goes. Like, sure, that's fine. But I'm talking about like little shit, like shit that's easy for you to control. You know, like if you normally brush your teeth with your right hand because you're right-handed, try doing it with your left sometimes.
everybody just thought about jerking it with strangers.
Absolutely, 100%.
If you're southpaw like me,
same.
See if the other one don't feel a little bit more like a stranger.
You know how the stranger feels.
Funny about opposite hand, I had my arm in a sling for like 16 weeks.
Yeah.
I injured myself so bad, so many times trying to brush my teeth with my right hand, jamming the toothbrush up into my gums and cutting the shit out of myself.
It's so funny, the difference between the two hands.
It's really good incentive to get better at doing it with that hand, though.
I don't recall that it got better. I think I just stopped brushing my teeth. I wasn't around anybody anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, and obviously that's kind of a silly example, but little shit like that, it's really interesting, and there's science behind it. It's because when you do shit in a different way than you've gotten used to doing it, it forges new connections in your brain, which is really good for your fucking brain.
My friend Hank, whom you've met, I believe, is
I love
master at this.
Good.
He does this shit all the time.
Very nice.
I need to do it more. I school myself on it, and I'll get like, sometimes I'm just like, I want to do that, but I don't have time to fuck around with that.
Right.
I can't spend the time to do my dishes left-handed today.
But you can do some stuff mentally that way too. We've talked on this show, Robert Anton Wilson. He has 2 books out, Quantum Psychology and Prometheus Rising, where they are meant to get you out of your thought structure, your thought patterns, and kind of break up your belief systems and give you a chance to kind of look at things from a different perspective. And people, came out in the 70s, 80s, and people swear by that. I've read them a lot. Some of it's over my head still, but it's very interesting stuff, and always been valuable. Always, you don't feel like you get dumber when you look at things from a different perspective, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like we're creatures of pattern recognition. Like that's very, very fundamental to who and what we are, and
We're designed to be that way.
We are,
by Jesus.
But breaking those by me.
Oh,
I decided today that I am God.
you were the programmer. All right.
I mean, just simply everything runs by a clock.
I'm sorry,
You have
and
to
you're welcome.
develop patterns within those hours of
Patterns that we're not even aware of necessarily that we
and
fall into.
Patterns
Some of them are huge.
patterns are good. I'm not saying that pattern recognition and patterns in and of themselves are a negative thing, but
take my patterns, bro.
But introducing change into your patterns that you've gotten comfortable with is so beneficial for you, like mentally, physically, even emotionally. So it's just like, oh, normally I drive to work this way. I'm gonna go a different way today. Even just little shit like that, stuff that makes your mind actually kick back in and go, oh, whoa.
That's safety.
Little
stuff,
mini
by the way,
adventures.
too.
Yeah.
What's that?
Driving home a different way.
Well,
all
yeah.
the time.
It's safer.
It's actually it's a safety thing.
Makes sense. All women should be listening to that right now, and probably a lot of dudes that pick fights.
Yeah, because when they come to assassinate you, they can't predict your fucking schedule and routes.
Something. Maybe. I don't know. Try not to make enemies in life.
I know. I'm only kind of joking. I'm not joking at all.
It's hard to tell
I agree
with you.
Jeff completely.
No one knows. I can't tell with either of you tonight. Who's joking about what? God damn. All right. So intentionally break up patterns.
Yeah.
I think that sounds fair.
Yeah. Not a deep, profound advice, but a valuable advice.
Yeah, it's something that you can do right now. It's something you can do later.
Yeah, simply, and you not only for yourself, but in your relationships too. You kind of brought up relationships. People do get into really bad patterns, and they don't recognize that they're in it.
Yeah, shake it up.
And it could be
Buy
as
a
simple
Kama
as
Sutra.
Yeah, or as simple as you go to work, you have dinner, put the kids to bed, and now you're, got to watch a couple shows and then rack out. Shut the fucking TV off. Have a conversation. Read a book. Do something. I don't know. Just get on the ground and do push-ups for the hell of it.
Read
That's
a book.
it.
Just to
like
just
the
to get a
Kama
reaction.
Sutra.
Yeah, or that.
Shaden's got an agenda here
Usually
today.
you got to work up to that. If that's
That is something you got to work up to.
Start with yoga.
Yes. Page 1, page 2.
They're not the same, but they do correlate.
I mean,
All right, so let's move along to something that Shaiden learned, because he teaches us stuff every week. This one's very important about shark eggs.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Shark
it.
eggs. If you've never
Look at them.
Some sharks lay eggs. This is some news to me.
I thought they had little puppies. I don't know.
That's what I mean. I just imagined them like little violent sea doggies that just like whelped litters of other tiny sea doggies.
Right.
Not all sharks. I can't tell you which sharks. I'm not a fucking shark expert, a sharkologist, if you will.
Well, I do have cloacas, so.
But some of them lay eggs, and if you've never seen a shark egg, you owe it to yourself. Stop whatever you're doing. Pause this podcast. Don't close it, though. You have to come back.
Yeah, come back.
Pause this podcast. go Google images of shark eggs and thank me afterwards. In your preferred
Discord?
method, you can come
Shitbox?
on to Discord. You can get into the justaridepod@gmail.com. But I want to see some reactions to fucking shark eggs because maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only fucking one. But none of the three of us. Well, wait, Jeff knew. Didn't you? You knew what a shark egg looked like before I brought it up?
didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not know.
Yeah. And Zach, you didn't either, right?
No.
Cool.
No.
So, based upon my case study I just conducted, nobody knows what shark eggs look like.
That's right. Nobody really thought about it.
I never really
I know
thought
they're
about
not
if
tasty.
Shark laid eggs or not.
It's
Ever
fucking
in my life,
wild. It's
actually.
fucking
I've never
wild.
eaten one. Have you ever eaten one?
Do you want to try to describe it,
No.
Zach?
I'm going to look at it right now.
Look at it and see if you can verbally describe this madness.
Looks like a giant water weenie.
Different
I would
planets.
hang one on my Christmas tree, maybe.
Can't be from. We can't be from the same planet as this.
It's squiddish looking.
It is Squiddish looking, with a little, almost like you're looking in an egg when you're trying to see if the egg's in there.
Big old nucleus in there.
When you shine
for
the
like a
light
chicken
behind
egg.
it,
Yeah, like whatever they call that. Shadow boxing, I think is what they call that. God damn, dude.
I think you're right. I think it looks
that a
like
shark?
something.
That's
If you get it too close to your face, it'll latch on, like those face sucker
Yes,
aliens. You know,
it looks like something.
I think there was a
that
monster
you would see in
on
a Star
Monster
Wars
Inc.
planet.
that had like one eye and kind of looked like that thing.
Yeah, kind of. I think
Does.
you're right.
Yeah, big time.
It's a good call.
So shark eggs.
So anyway, that's the
the
thing
lesson.
I learned this week. I can't give you any better of a verbal description. You just need to go look at it, and then I want to know if it blew anybody's mind to pieces like it did mine. Because what the fuck?
What the fuck?
This planet's weird. I'm
It
just
is.
gonna start finding weird shit.
Well, it's like jellyfish.
weird alien shit that actually exists on our
It's
planet.
like jellyfish. It's like, what? How does that exist?
Yeah, and one of them, a species of jellyfish, we literally called man-o-war. I think that's the coolest,
That is
most
pretty
metal, weird thing.
Yeah, that is cool. Man o' war.
That's a fucking man-o-war jellyfish.
fucking bit me like a man o' war. Oh, let's call it that. Fuck yeah, what'd you say that? I don't know. It hurt. I'm kind of out of my mind. All right.
The ocean is scary.
It is scary. Fuck yeah, it is. God damn. All right, last thing. And this is our fuck this thing for this week. And it's entitled People. Aw, that's a lot of different people. That's a lot of fuck yous to a lot of folk.
Yeah.
And I don't really know.
Entitlement's a weird one, man. Is it does seem really rampant and like more so. Like I think 2-day shipping. I think that's the reason. I think that's the reason for entitled
microwave
people.
society.
Yeah.
Seriously,
I want it, and
It's
I want it fucking
that
now.
instant
Yeah.
gratification has ruined a lot of people, and I think it's like you got to. You got to take a second and keep some shit in perspective, you know. Like, and I'm guilty of it too. Like, I've had times where I'm shopping for something and I'm like, I have the internet. I can get this literally this week. I'll just go find it, and then I go looking for it. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to be here for a month? Are you out of your mind?
See, me choosing to stand in line at the grocery store is keeping me grounded.
Yeah.
Well done.
I've been doing it too.
So that's a tool. I didn't today. I should have.
Yeah. I mostly just don't want to deal with the other people and self-checkout. They've deterred me from it. I'd rather, even if it takes me a little extra time, I'd rather roll the dice on them.
There's that great little cut and paste post about self-checkout that I probably should have cut and pasted and put it in.
Yeah, because nobody knows
In
what
the
the fuck
shit
you're
box.
talking about right now.
But it is my sentiments exactly, and I should probably just
Yeah,
share it.
you should.
Man, it would already be shared by the time you hear this.
Yeah, someone's
at
going to go find it. They're finding it right now.
So fuck entitled people.
Yeah, seriously. Like, don't, like, it's, you got to remember, I think, Zach, you put it a good way where it's like not knowing where your food comes from kind of mentality. Like, it's, you can't, try not to let yourself be separated from the actual logistics of things, you know, or like, or just allow yourself to have such an overinflated opinion of yourself that you're like, I deserve everything. Like, everything is my right and I shall have it when I want it. Like that. Dude, that's a dangerous road to be traveling down.
Well,
It's not going to serve you well.
It's antisocial behavior from emotional stupidity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird
think
way to
about
be.
that. I mean, have you ever thought in your own life, like, God, do I really think, are there things that I believe that I'm entitled to? I mean, have you ever thought about it? I can't think anything off the top of my head. There are times when I want a result that is going to be in my favor, but it doesn't mean I don't deserve that result necessarily. I might, in my mind, think that I do, but the reality is that I don't. What's going to happen is going to happen. No matter how much hard work I do, I may not get the result that I want.
I heard at a young age the universe doesn't owe you a thing. I don't know where from, but it's stuck with me forever. And it's like, okay, that's it, and it sounds kind of mean, but to me, it's kind of motivating. It's like you earn everything here. You know, you might get lucky, and you might have circumstances that hook you up or some shit, but it doesn't owe you shit.
Well,
we all die. We all fear
We're not
sickness.
owed anything, and you know what? The world is not equal.
No, it's not.
Well, I think I had a similar profound statement that kind of impacted me at a young age, but it was that somebody told me nobody gets what they deserve.
Oh wow, that is pretty profound.
And I was like the more I thought about it, I was like, ooh. Like at first, I was like,
Cynical.
what do you mean? People do a good job and nobody gets rewards for it? And it's like, well,
It goes both ways, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's not to say that you know you never ever do, but most of the time it's not equivalent. You know, like,
if this is a simulation, what a stupid simulation! If you just got what you deserved all the time, nobody'd play anymore.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, this is a dumb game. I'm gonna go play Grand Theft Auto.
it's true. It's true. The chaos does add a certain panache.
It does.
You can be the kindest, most giving person in the world. It doesn't guarantee that anything great is going to happen for you out of that. You're not owed anything for that. People should be kind back, but there's no rule that says that has to happen. That's
Right.
just a shitty reality of the world. But if you can grasp that and just do the best that you can do on a day-to-day basis, you can't do more than that.
Yeah, agreed. And to take it a step further, just because you threw money at something doesn't mean you deserve everything you want from it.
That's what I think has been interesting. Like when I work for Dan Cummins, in case you guys don't know, we
Never
didn't
heard that before. What an interesting factoid.
Yeah, who's that guy? You know, there is this thing, and it works with SKATCAST too, where, you know, we have patrons and stuff, and our patrons are awesome, and it's the coolest community on the internet as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed.
But there's this idea, like, I gave you $5, now I can call you a cunt, or I can say that all of your shit that you do is, I can give you my opinion on it, and now you got to listen because I paid for it, motherfucker.
Dude, it'd be kind of awesome if it worked that way, though. If I, like in real life, if I could just walk up to you and give you $5 and then just like verbally abuse you. For
Dude, let's
20
start that
minutes.
business model. I will take that business model. If you guys want to give me $20, I will take your abuse for 5
I will
minutes.
let you roast me.
Yeah,
That sounds fair, voluntarily.
I'm up
Wes.
for that.
that's a downtown day.
Yeah.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Well, another
Get
thing.
billboards.
Yeah. We'll receive roasting for cash donation.
Parade me.
Write
for
this
bucks.
down. Well, we should try it. We'll try that as a video and just see what happens if people do it. All right. This is our last segment of the show.
Wow.
And this is something new that we're going to try and do, hopefully all the time. I don't know. But we wanted to use this wonderful community that we have to solve some problems for some of the members of our community, if that makes any sense. So
Give us your problems.
Yes,
Bring unto us your problems.
we're going to call this the Just a Ride Navigator. And what we'll do is, it's just like normal. Send us your emails to justaridepod@gmail.com, and we will pick one or two a week, and we will look into them, but direct them at us like, you know, hey, I've got this issue, and we want to try and fix it. We get actually quite a few of those, but this one kind of direct it in that way and direct it towards the community. And what we'll do is we'll talk about it on the show, and we'll use your name or not, if depending. You tell us if you want it
let us
used,
know.
and then we will send it out into the shitbox and to our Discord, which there's lots of folks in there that can help.
And not that I want to repress anyone, but if you keep it concise and not like 18 pages long, like if you just need to vent, bring it on. Maybe,
Yes.
you know. But like if it's something that we want to tackle, if you're meant to have us tackle it on air on the show,
Yeah, if it's one
like
you want specifically addressed.
it just simply can't take us 20 minutes to read it. That's all I'm saying. So
Keep it terse. Yes.
But I think this will be awesome because
Me too.
I really enjoy, like, it lets me and Jeff help people fix things, and we need that. We've established that. So but no, man, I as much as I like to joke about not giving a shit about people, I really like I find I don't have it in me to really turn somebody away who genuinely is seeking help.
Right, and I
especially
love
if it's
the
something that I
puzzle
can
of
just
life.
kind of help them
Same.
tinker with. You know, like I'm so there for that.
I'm confident in the people that have joined us in this little journey already. The people in the shitbox and our Discord, because there's lots of really thoughtful people, like we were talking about earlier, reasonable folk. And so between us taking a stab at it and trying to throw out some ideas and trying to break it down the best we can as people that don't know you and they're just listening to listen, and then taking it from there and then throwing it into our group if that's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
I think that'll be somewhat valuable. And it does sound like that's what some of you guys are interested in. As some people have been saying, it's like men's health or men's therapy. And I mean, that's what friends kind of do. And so...
You don't have to be a man either. We can handle some girl problems. You betcha.
I don't think that it's out of our depth.
Yeah. I was raised and grew up primarily around girls, so I could help. Maybe, I don't know. Probably not.
I don't think I can.
Satisfaction is not guaranteed. We'll probably do an excellent job at making your problems worse. We'll have a good time on the way.
There's a chance. The intentions are good.
Yep.
But I think all of us.
You know what they paved the road to hell to?
Good intentions.
I heard that one time. Shit.
Oh wow.
I think with the 3 different lives that we've lived, there's a good chance that one of us will at least have some pretty good perspective on what an issue is.
Or we'll disagree so hard on it that we'll actually fight.
That'd be fun.
Which could be awesome.
Which would be cool too. That's,
So this is kind of a
pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So this is a Dear Abby or a Dear JAR. So Dear JAR. And you can send us those
Dear
starting
Jar,
now.
Love your lovely navigator.
That's right. Or you could just put navigator. I don't know. Dear JAR.
Sure. Whatever.
Actually,
we don't have to name it. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
just send
matter
us
at
your
all.
problems.
They're all getting
and
read
we'll try to help you fucking sort through it,
Yep.
or not, or we'll just commiserate with you. Who knows? It depends.
Yep. But man or woman doesn't matter, and we'll start tackling that next week. So send them in.
That'll be fun. That'll be awesome.
I think so.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and always send us your emails at justridepod@gmail.com.
It's just a ride pod.
And if you have any ideas or any of those kind of things, we're happy to hear those as well. And I think this is our show. This has been a fun-ass day.
It's been a good one.
We've had a day where we've recorded 2 together, so we've had a nice chunk of a day
Good old
together.
marathon, long haul. That's why we're a little more out of our mind than normal, I think.
I think I'm normal. This is about as normally ripe as I am.
Okay. That's why me and Jeff are a little more out of our minds than normal.
So, there was one topic that somebody called in and asked me and wanted to talk about, but we missed it on these, but we'll have to do it probably in the next episode. It was regarding the filming the police.
Oh.
Basically.
Oh, yeah,
That was the basic gist of it. There was some specific stuff he wanted me to watch that I haven't had time. That's why weren't able to do it. But I think I'll probably just go on the basic principle of it based on what I read in Discord.
Okay. We'll do that next episode.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Cool.
All right, guys. As always, thank you so much. SKATCAST.com for more, and we'll talk at you in the future.
It'll seem like the present.
It might. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Bing.
Bong.